All right, guys, welcome back to another video. It's been a crazy day again in the video games industry, and for all of the wrong reasons, as the trends of layoffs and the shrinkage of the gaming industry continues in a massive way. Yesterday, as Sony laid off 8% of the workforce, PlayStation laying off 8% of the workforce, but 900 employees are now jobless going forward after PlayStation comes out, Sony Interactive Entertainment, and makes an announcement about the future of PlayStation, the direction they want to go, the decisions that they have had to make in order to get to this point. And there's just a lot of fallout from all of this. So let's go through it. Let's talk about what has gone on here, what has happened, games that have been canceled, studio that has been closed, and people that have been laid off. All right, guys, before we continue this video, just a quick word from the sponsor of this video, and a game that I'm looking forward to. A demo is available right now, and that is Unicorn Overlord. So first off, the demo is available right now. If you download it and play through it, your progress will carry over to the release of this game, which is March 8th, 2024, so just right around the corner, so you can go ahead and check out the game itself. But Unicorn Overlord is the rebirth of a retro fantasy strategy that embarks audiences on nostalgia-infused epic SRPG adventure, inviting them to forge alliances, liberate kingdoms, and explore an expansive world with stunning visuals. This is a vanillaware title with games like 13 Sentinels, Odin Sphere, a bunch of games that they have created have been amazing. But unlike a game like 13 Sentinels, the focus of this game lies in the strategy and the tactics of it rather than emphasizing the narrative. It's a classic heroic fantasy tale that pays homage to the classic 16 and 32-bit strategy RPG gameplay with gorgeous modern 2D aesthetics for tactics fans. And you're going to get lots of stuff within this game. Tons of overworld exploration with immersion, your freedom, how to play the SRPG, and a world that you're just going to want to discover. This game is the revival of the epic SRPGs with unique battles and strategic party compositions and real-time battles. And obviously you get Vanillaware's visual style, which is always beautiful if you've taken a look at some of their previous game. This game here, Unicorn Overlord, is available on the Nintendo Switch, the Xbox Series X and S, the PlayStation 5, and the PlayStation 4. And as I said, download the demo right now because your progress will carry over for the full release when it does come out on March 8th. So go ahead and check out Unicorn Overlord today. So first of all, Jim Ryan, who is the outgoing CEO, we know he's sailing off to retirement or to go do something else after he leaves PlayStation, put out a blog post on the SonyInteractive.com blog, and he talks about the layoffs and the reason why they had to do this and stuff, and that there is going to be about 8% or about 900 people that are going to be losing their jobs. And here's kind of, I'm not going to go through the whole email. It is kind of boring, but here's what he says. Through discussions over the past few months about the evolving economic landscape, changes in the way we develop, distribute, and launch products, and ensuring our organization is future ready in this rapidly changing industry, we have concluded that tough decisions have become inevitable. The leadership team and I made the incredibly difficult decision to restructure operations, which regrettably includes a reduction in our workforce, impacting very talented individuals who have contributed to our success. And they say here that after careful consideration and many leadership discussions over several months, they have come to this decision and have to do this because they want to continue to grow the business. And I mean, this is something we've been talking about now for weeks, and it is just the fact that the gaming industry is completely changing, completely reshaping. Xbox and PlayStation are the two major ones here that are completely pivoting and doing things that they think that they will have to do in order to continue to grow and be able to be profitable in the future. We know with Xbox, it was a little bit of a different story. They acquired Activision Blizzard, and then they laid off 1,900 employees, which again is still awful. But a lot of that also had to do with redundancy in roles of overlapping positions from roles that were there at Activision. Now we'll be overlapping with roles that are already at Xbox and Microsoft. And then there were others that they just cut because they have to, like PlayStation is saying here, find ways to make sure that they are profitable going forward and pivot and all that type of stuff that these businesses have to do with this industry that is just seemingly going through a mini crash here in terms of everything shrinking and getting smaller. And then you have PlayStation here, who the writing has been on the wall for a very long time. PlayStation has been needing to pivot their business in order to be able to sustain these just insane development costs of their games. And I think the Insomniac leak really solidified that. It was quite obvious that this was coming. I mean, this is not a surprise, although it is so sad for the people that lost their job. I mean, they're going to be they're going to be out of work today, right now, as they go forward, realizing that this just kind of comes out of nowhere. But the writing was on the wall if you look at everything that is happening. And the Insomniac leak with the $300 million+ development costs for games like Spider-Man, just absurd. So they probably went in there, looked at how these studios were operating, realizing there was a lot of money that was being wasted in some way or another in the development of these games. A lot of money that did not need to be spent. And of course, it comes back on the employees who get affected, the lower level employees, when the reality is this is just mismanagement from the higher ups to allow these development costs to get so out of hand. And again, that's a unfortunate thing for people who have lost their job. So they go also through here and talk about the different areas of the world that are going to be cutting down. But one of the biggest things here, the biggest thing I would say that come out of this, is that PlayStation Studios London is being closed in its entirety. And they say also there's going to be reductions in Fire Sprite Studios, and I believe there's also a reduction at Guerrilla Games, which Guerrilla Games makes Horizon, which you would think sold extremely well, very popular game, yet they're still layoffs. And I believe Insomniac is affected even with how insane Spider-Man had sold. Like, this just really shows you that their model of console exclusivity is not sustainable anymore, which is why we know that they are going to be expanding out and becoming more multi-platform, putting their games on other platforms besides the PlayStation platform. And they reiterate that here as well. Herman Hulst also puts out his own post as to what is going on, mentions Insomniac, Naughty Dog, as well as our technology, creative, and support teams. Those are all going through a reduction, again mentioning London studio completely being closed down. But here's kind of the meat as to the writing as to what is going on here with PlayStation going forward. He says, at the same time, our industry has experienced continuing and fundamental change which affects how we all create and play games. Delivering the immersive narrative-driven stories that PlayStation Studios is known for at the quality bar that we aspire to requires a reevaluation of how we operate. Delivering and sustaining social online experiences, allowing PlayStation gamers to explore our worlds in different ways, as well as launching games on additional devices such as PC and mobile, requires a different approach and different resources. So that's where it's going. I definitely see a future, as I've said so many times on this channel, where PC and even maybe mobile, if they have a mobile version of that game, day and date, same time as it launches on PS5. I don't think they're going to be having those long waits to try to make back the money that they do spend to develop their games. They also say here that we looked at our studios, our portfolio, evaluating projects in various stages of development, and have decided that some of those projects will not move forward. So on top of the layoffs, on top of the studio closures, PlayStation is also canceling numerous projects. We don't know how many, because a lot of them probably haven't been announced. I'm guessing a lot of those were games as a service, the 10 or 12 or whatever that Jim Ryan said that they were trying to release by like 2026. I'm sure a lot of those are. In fact, one of them definitely is, as we have this article here from October 27th, 2022, about what London Studio is working on, and they were working on an online co-op combat game set in fantasy London. So games as a service multiplayer game here from London Studio that is being canceled. The other thing with London Studio, it's kind of crazy here when you think about this one with the studio closing down. PSVR 2 came out a year ago. I have a PSVR 2 headset. It is a phenomenal headset in terms of the technology. So when they announced they are bringing it over to PC, I'm excited because I'm going to now actually be able to utilize its features. It's a great headset, but it's locked right now to PlayStation 5. And there's nothing really to play on it, at least no first-party games. They came with the Horizon game, and then that's it. We've been waiting now for a year for some more first-party VR games from PlayStation, and nothing's coming, which is just insane. They essentially put out a VR headset. It didn't sell maybe as well as they wanted it to right off the start, and they made no games for it, so they're just kind of sending the PSVR 2 out to die. I think the putting it on PC is like their last-ditch effort to make some money back off of it, hoping that people will go out there, see the technology in the PSVR 2, and then buy it to use it on PC. So very, very unfortunate, because I think there's a lot of potential in that PSVR 2 headset. So I hope that we get some great stuff that it can be utilized for when it does hit PC. So this is crazy. And the other thing with London Studios that popped up was Jim Ryan. Man, Jim Ryan, he is one guy. I don't know. I was going to say one heck of a guy, but that's definitely not the word that would describe Jim Ryan. But he was here at London Studios, the studio that is now closing, on February 22nd, and took a picture with all of these employees, and now comes out and announces that they are closing down the studio. So he knew this obviously when he was there. I'm guessing he wasn't allowed to say anything, but just the fact that he was just okay smiling and taking a picture with all of these employees, knowing that they were all going to be out of a job just a couple of days later, to me is just absolutely insane thing for him to do. An insane thing for PlayStation to allow this to happen. I mean, basically, if you know this is happening, don't go visit the studios. Don't go and get this fake happiness picture out there, because obviously a lot of sadness is going to be following that in the next couple of days. So that's crazy. And then the other thing that was canceled was there was going to be a Twisted Metal game that was going to be coming out. I believe it was an online games as a service Twisted Metal game that has now also been canceled. We don't know all of the games that have been canceled from PlayStation with this announcement, but I'm sure it's a handful of them. And it sucks because PlayStation, one of the things they do great is they create those big third person cinematic experiences. And a lot of people love those. I've always looked at those and I think that they're cool. But to me, I was always like, why are these games moving so much towards just being more like movies? And that was always kind of a red flag because the production cost of that is much higher. And honestly, to me, those games are not nearly as fun as some of even AA games that come out that are just pure fun gameplay. So with all that, they were now starting to actually work on some different creative games, stuff that would be more full gameplay and probably more fun to play. And a lot of those games are going to be canceled now. So crazy day in PlayStation, a crazy day in the gaming industry. And this just precedes all of the other layoffs. I mean, you got the Microsoft layoffs. You have a bunch of other stuff. I just talked about Supermassive the other day. We have Pio here on X here, who does a nice breakdown of actually listing out all of the different layoffs we've seen. So Microsoft, 1,900 people, Sony, 900 people, Unity Software, 1,800 people, Twitch, 500, Riot Games, 530, Discord, 170, Platika, 300 to 400, Lost Boys Interactive, 125, Pixelberry, 120, Metaverse World, 70, Black Forest Games, 50, Raycon Games, 60, Eidos Montreal, 97, Sega of America, 61, 91 Act, 60 people, and then Supermassive Games just the other day, 90 people. Already surpassing the 2023. The industry is definitely going through something very negative here, going down, and it will be better in a few years. But as of right now, it is very hard if you're somebody working within the gaming industry. And it continues with some bad news for Sony yesterday, as we've heard previously, there was a lawsuit against Sony and basically how they monopolized the digital market for being able to purchase games, where they weren't allowing people to go out and buy codes for the PlayStation Store off of those reseller websites or any other way for a user on the PlayStation Network to actually go out and purchase games via the PlayStation Store. In fact, it says here with the whole lawsuit against PlayStation that the claim is a collective action against the defendants, who the class representative alleges have breached the UK and EU competition law by abusing their dominant position. The class representative says that the defendants have abused their dominant position by imposing unfair terms on developers and publishers of digital PlayStation games and add-on content, which, has the class representative alleges, meant that the consumers are forced to make purchases of these products from the PlayStation Store, where the defendants are able to charge commissions of 30%. So they're being forced to go out and purchase games, meaning it is unfair for the developers and publishers. And that was a class action lawsuit that was submitted against PlayStation. Now, it hadn't gone forward until now, and it's now going to be going forward. It says the UK tribunal for PlayStation's 10 billion USD lawsuit is now proceeding. So it is getting worse for PlayStation right now. It's a very bad day for them. And it's a huge thing here with their margins, with the amount of money they make. Major changes are coming forward for PlayStation as they are coming for the entire industry. We've seen Xbox already announce their business update. I wonder if PlayStation is going to have something similar to that and kind of have to let down the people who only care about console exclusivity, let them down, as they are going to be putting their games in more places. So you try to make back some of this money, even especially if they do end up losing this $10 billion lawsuit for locking people down and forcing them to buy and purchase games only through the PlayStation Store. All right, let's talk about Nintendo. And let's talk about Nintendo suing, which is, I mean, they're great at suing and they have won lots of cases. So if you ever think you're going to get away with something from Nintendo, you're probably not. And here's another thing here, and it is with The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I love that game. One of my favorite games of all time. Same with Breath of the Wild. I'm a huge Zelda fan. And they released it last year in May. But before it actually officially came out, there was a leak of the game. You could download it, play on Emulator. You could play it through the whole thing. The game was spoiled for a lot of people, and it is because of the YUZU emulator. And now Nintendo is suing them. It says, in a complaint spotted by GameFile reporter Stephen Tittil, the platform holder argues that the defendant and its agents are fully aware of the use of YUZU by others in performing circumvention in facilitating piracy at a colossal scale. YUZU enables users to play pirated Switch games on Windows, Linux, or Android systems, according to Nintendo. And the lawsuit claims that last year's biggest Switch release, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, was pirated over 1 million times in the week and a half before its release in May. 1 million pirates out there trying to get it. That's not surprising. I'm surprised it was even 1 million. I thought it would be even more than that with how popular Zelda is and how big this game was. They say here, with YUZU in hand, nothing stops the user from obtaining and playing unlawful copies of virtually any game made for the Nintendo Switch, all without paying a dime to Nintendo or to any of the hundreds of other game developers and publishers making and selling games for the Nintendo Switch. In effect, YUZU turns general computing devices into tools for massive intellectual property infringement of Nintendo and others' copyrighted works. And they also talked well in this lawsuit, basically saying that they ruined the excitement and hype for people. They ruined the game for them, and they actually had people's tweets, accounts that you probably would recognize, in their lawsuit to show that they were disappointed that the game was ruined before it was released. So here's another thing. I mean, they already won one major case with that Team Executor a couple years ago, and I wonder how this one is going to go. I have a feeling that it may not work out too well for YUZU because of Nintendo's track record of going forward with these things and being pretty successful at winning them. All right, jumping over here, let's talk about Battlefield 2042, because we do have some exclusive news here from Insider Gaming about a game mode that looks like it's coming to the franchise and kind of where this next Battlefield is going to go. Battlefield 2042 did not launch very well. I think it's improved a lot since the launch itself, but obviously they are looking forward to make sure they don't have that same mistake when they launch the next Battlefield. And one of the, I think, optimistic things going forward for Battlefield is the fact that Vince Zampella is now the head honcho leading the series, which, if you Respawn, is an incredible studio that I don't think has ever really missed with their releases. If you think of everything that they have put out, and even just thinking about a game like Apex Legends and Titanfall, how good those shooters are, it's pretty good here to see him leading Battlefield, because I think it puts it in very, very good hands. Now, when it comes to the next game, there is some information here. It says here, Insider Gaming has also learned that the next Battlefield title is taking somewhat of a back to its roots approach with the likes of a 64-player matches, the return of its 4-class system, and an overall to its destruction system. It's going to be in the modern day, taking place around 2025 to 2030, so the current day essentially. And it's going to have strong story-driven emphasis on modern technology used in war. So I like that stuff. I like the future. I like the modern warfare stuff. So happy to see that that is the case. And the other thing that they have learned is that they're going to be having this free-to-play online battle royale multiplayer mode, saying that Ripple Effect, the studio that is working on the new experience for Battlefield franchise, is working on a new battle royale title that's currently aimed to be free to play and follow a similar strategy to the highly successful Call of Duty Warzone that will see the free-to-play experience tie in with its premium release. So not surprising. They are most likely looking at the success of games like Call of Duty Modern Warfare and going to be releasing a similar experience, but with the Battlefield mechanics. And there's a lot of people out there that prefer the Battlefield mechanics versus the Call of Duty mechanics. There was a time where Battlefield versus Call of Duty was far closer than it is today. And that's what Call of Duty needs right now. They need Battlefield to step up. They need them to release a game that is highly competitive, because that will push Call of Duty further even more. So I hope this next Battlefield knocks it out of the park and it becomes almost as popular as Call of Duty. It's really hard to ever surpass Call of Duty, just with it being ingrained in everybody that is the first person shooter they buy every single year. They like to continue with playing every game, their stats, all that stuff. But hoping Battlefield here does provide a really, really good competition for the game going forward. Now, we also got some Pokemon announcements from the Pokemon Presents Showcase. So if you're a Pokemon fan, I enjoy the Pokemon games. There's going to be some new ones coming out. This one here, Pokemon Legends ZA, officially announced at the Pokemon Presents Showcase. And it will be a brand new installment of the game. They say here, it's a new adventure awaits within Lumio City, where an urban redevelopment plan is underway to shape the city into a place that belongs to both people and to Pokemon. So go check out that trailer if you're interested. I mean, you don't really get that much info out of it. It's just kind of a quick little thing here. Now, they don't give us a specific release date, but they do say it is coming in 2025, simultaneously worldwide. I have a feeling that this new Pokemon game is being set up to be releasing alongside the Nintendo Switch 2. I'm sure it will also release on the current Nintendo Switch. I mean, it says it is here with the Nintendo Switch logo, but I feel like there's going to be a Switch 2 version of it, and it's going to be a huge launch game for it, or a huge launch window game for the Nintendo Switch. So looking forward to that. I wonder how they will improve on it. That's one of the things now that I think they're going to be pushed to have to do, especially after the success of Power World. Maybe they'll make it kind of more features in there to get it closer to something like that based off of how successful Power World was. But no matter what they do, the game is going to sell like crazy. And then they also announced a Pokemon trading card game that is coming to mobile this year, to iOS and to Android. So if you're into the trading cards, you're now going to be able to play this new Pokemon trading card game on your phone. I actually may check that one out. I'm kind of interested in seeing how that will all work out. And finally, some crazy deals going on Xbox right now. And I love the backwards compatibility deals. Those are usually my favorite ones. And here are just some of the best ones, all 15 backwards compatible games. Assassin's Creed 2, Beyond Good and Evil, Far Cry series. You have Fight Night Champion, phenomenal game. Hydrophobia, Midnight Club, Los Angeles, awesome game too. Skate series, The Darkness. And you also have Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Future Soldier, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Vegas, Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Double Agent. All up 75-80% off pretty much. So definitely check those out if you like adding to that digital collection of OG and Xbox 360 backwards compatible games. But I will end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.